MatchBingo introduces Live Football Bingo, where events in every English Premier League game can win you prizes for a £1 card. And the fastest full house of the season is worth £20,000. Head to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Over 18s only. Be gamble aware. Get yourself over to matchbingo.co.uk for more information.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the final League One Talking Town. With me, Matt Phillips, is George, second to none. George, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Honoured to be on the last ever League One pod. Well,
You'll be relieved to hear that when we've been on the shows previously, after matches of great significance, I've had a few drinks. This evening, I've not had too many drinks this evening, George. So I've got an air of sobriety around me.
You still hungover from the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So here we are, everybody. Look, League One, it's over. The nightmare is over. We have found a port in the stormiest of seas after 4 years.
Thank God.
Yeah, I was going to say immediate reactions to those comments. Thank God.
Yeah, just that. Thank God. I was going to say not before time, but it's probably just about the right time given how the last 3 years have gone. But what a relief, eh? And well done to everyone involved.
Absolutely.
That's all I can say, really. I'm still a bit sort of in awe of the last 2.5 months of how we've played. It's like tarnish on that at the weekend, I guess, but nobody can. Nobody can blame them. But yeah, I mean, what a phenomenal end to the season.
It was a phenomenal end. We will come to that in just a second. AD Croucher is with us. Again, AD, who was singled out, George, by the cameras at Barnsley, was again singled out yesterday in the away end at Fleetwood. AD says, I was at Christchurch Park earlier. It was a good occasion, perhaps a few days too late. Who thought the idea of presenting the medals out of a card box was a bit weird? Well, there was 11. Did you go to that today, George? Or I know
I didn't. No, I was there yesterday in the fan zone, but I couldn't get back again today, unfortunately.
There was 11,000. There was 11,000 supporters there today.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks amazing. Yeah.
It looked really good. I mean, bloody hell, Ipswich having some kind of celebration at the end of the season.
I'm not going to say make the most of it because there's going to be plenty more to come. But
absolutely. I hope you're right. Our good friend from Holland, Frank Weston, is in the house. Great to see you, Frank. Absolutely brilliant. Colin says, congratulations to Plymouth Argyle. Absolutely amazing season, you boys from the Southwest. Andy Barrell said, also from the Southwest, says, well said, Colin. Paul Smith, Southampton, here we come. They are right on the edge of relegation right now, George. I think they're losing 2-1 to Notts Forest.
Yeah, it's a funny old day today, isn't it? Funny day in the Championship for results. And, I guess exciting day in the Championship for results. And, with Everton winning 5-1 earlier, that's...
What the hell? Who saw that one coming?
Bonkers.
I saw Everton play Leicester, George, in midweek, and they were absolutely both diabolical.
They looked ordinary, but they look good today. I watched most of today.
Absolutely. I'll have to catch up on that. So you said to me, my friend, that you were in the fan zone yesterday. So it was a good 4,000 fans. So tell me a little bit about it. Did you? So was it one big screen? Was there multiple screens? How did it work in the fan zone yesterday?
2 big screens side by side. It's pretty good. Plenty of space. I mean, they said 4,000 in there. I've got no reason to doubt that, but it makes you realise how many you can get in there and how many there are on some match days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a really, really good, friendly, fun atmosphere. I don't think it wasn't a frustrated atmosphere in the second half, but I think the feeling of the fans amongst the fans was similar to the players. Really, it was just that sort of frustration of just not quite being able to find the cutting edge that we've had the last few weeks, months. But is what it is. But no, it was a lovely day. Actually, it was really nice. The weather was good to us, and it was a really nice way to.
Did you personally go in there thinking that we would win the title and beat Fleetwood, and And also, was that kind of the vibe in the fan zone yesterday?
No, I wouldn't say that. I've had a bit of a feeling in my water for the last few weeks that we were going to win the league, and I don't know, but for no real reason. And I think there was a moment in the second half where it was, I can't remember how it went exactly, but the scores were close-ish with us and Plymouth, and I just thought, do you know what? It would be right if we win this game in the 85th minute and Plymouth draw in the 96th. There'd be something. There's something a bit poetic about that. But don't get me wrong, Plymouth absolutely deserve their title. But I had an inkling, but I don't think there was any real
anything more than an inkling.
I think the most disappointing thing was just not getting to the 100-point mark. But again, it's a tiny.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I look, Plymouth went one down after about 2-3 minutes at Port Vale, and someone texted me and said, "Matt, you're top of the table." I said, "They'll come back." I said, "They've been persistent all season. They're like wavering around your pint."
It was never going to last.
They was always going to come back, weren't they? But look, fair play to them. I pulled out a few stats about them actually, George. 101 points, 61 of those points at home park. I mean, talk about home is where the heart is, right? That's an unbelievable record, and it's basically on par with what Manchester City's record is this season at the Etihad in the third tier. It's about 2.65, 2.7 points per game average. So, I mean, fair play to them. A lot of people thought they would probably fall away. I mean, they did last season, didn't they?
Yeah, they've got previous for it, haven't they? So, you know, but fair play. They made some really good acquisitions, mostly loans, but they replaced Whittaker well. They made early signings like us in January and made a few of them, and it's all just fallen in place for them. So
they had a couple of moments, didn't they, where they got done by 5 at Peterborough, got humiliated by Bolton in Wembley. The game was over inside about 15-20 minutes, I think. I mean, that just shows you their mindset, doesn't it? That Schumacher's probably instilled there to be able to come over those hurdles. You know, you're in a cup final, you've lost 4-0, heavy defeat, and you've still managed to break 100 points in the league. So I think we have to. You know, I was on their forum, and I think they felt a bit aggrieved that, you know, Ipswich Town, the money, the goals, McKenna, all that kind of stuff was kind of like dominating the media. But I think if you come on this platform, certainly on this platform, I think we've said all season, fair play to them. I think when they drew 1-1 with us, I said I think they'll probably win the league. You know. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I've not seen any sort of animosity from our side. Anyway, I can get their frustration because obviously there is a buzz around McKenna, probably more so than there is around Schumacher, and rightly or wrongly, and similar around the town in terms of how much we've got to you know the backing that we have that maybe don't, and I don't know. Is it seen that Ipswich are kind of returning and Plymouth are kind of a more sort of like moving up not for the first time, I know, but you know
I get it.
I don't know. I'm you know I don't know, but it's certainly not from us. It's not come from anywhere that I've seen from an Ipswich perspective. Anyway, I've got nothing but admiration for what they've done, and I wouldn't take it away from them.
No, absolutely. I mean, Schumacher actually took charge of Plymouth about the same time as McKenna did, maybe a few weeks earlier after Ryan Lowe, I think it was, wasn't it? Went to Preston.
He was his assistant, wasn't he? Wasn't it written into their contract that he couldn't go? So
huge Everton fan. I was thinking they might be looking at him if they were to go down, but today's result, 5-1 at Brighton, might put the kibosh on that a little bit. But you never know. But yeah, I mean, look, fair play to them. I think they were deserved. I think I saw a stat on their form that said they'd been top for about 27 weeks or something. And we were top round the start of the season, weren't we? But we've certainly been third mostly, haven't we? Thanks to the Wednesdays.
It's crazy. I was watching back the interview. I think I said this the other day. I was watching back the interview with McKenna and Ashton from I think it was February time, and they were talking then that we were 8 points off of the top two, and it was, you know, they were talking kind of like we might just about squeeze our way into it with a real run, and didn't we just have that run? But I think talking about the mindset, as you mentioned before, I think they're very similar to us. I think we've had a real change in the way we approach matches this season, and I think they're probably very similar, slightly more dogged if anything, given the number of late goals that they've had.
They've managed to get promoted, George, without their number one keeper in there as well, Cooper. So fair play to them for that. I think the difference a little bit between us and them is that I think our pivotal players belong to us, other than Hurst. And like your likes of Mumba will go back to Norwich. Finn Azaz will go back to Aston Villa. They already lost Morgan Whittaker. But maybe that's a model I think they might look at for next season in terms of, you know,
Yeah,
maybe
they'll just take a step up for recruitment. I don't doubt that will be the case. And again, fair play if that's the approach they're taking. That's the approach that works for them. Then great stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think when you look at how we've approached our and it's through the luck of having the money that we have and the backing that we have now, which we obviously haven't had for very long, but we're able to make those sorts of acquisitions and keep hold of them. And haven't we just made some phenomenal
yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's go back to your fan zone moment yesterday. Sharon Guest says Macaulay Bomb was at the Beanbag in his township. Did you bump into Macaulay, George?
No, I didn't see him until I started seeing some of the pictures on social media on my way home. But I'm not sure that I would have, because there was a few obviously that were milling around in, mostly ex-players milling around in their shirts and shoes. But I don't think I'd have noticed him. Just the ones that were up on stage, really. So Walk was there, and obviously Milton was comparing, and I'm sure I saw a couple of others. I can't remember who else I saw, but Dazelle was there. But no, I'm not sure that I'd have given him a second look in his because you wouldn't necessarily expect a current Charlton player to be there.
I think that probably speaks volumes that he's obviously leaving Charlton then, because he only had a contract to the end of the season. I wonder if he'll get picked up by Orient. I do wonder, and I've said this to the boys, Gub and Cruncher on the show before, and we've spoken about it in the comments. Is he just sort of thinking to himself, if only? Because he got off to such a flying start with us.
Yeah, just didn't quite work out. He could have been part of his party, couldn't
he?
Yeah. Just he missed, and who knows what it was and why it was, but just didn't quite work out for him. It wasn't quite the right timing, as much as I'm sure he loved the time that he had.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's have a look at yesterday's game then. So, I mean, look, we all went there with high hopes, didn't we? Mm-hmm. But there was part of me, I think back to when Ipswich beat Portsmouth after Portsmouth had a great season under Redknapp. It was when Sherwood played for them. It was when Paul Merson was in that team. Really good team. Todorov, I think, was one of their strikers. And they walked the division circa 2003, 4, 5, around that time. They came to Portman Road. We were like 3 up, like half time. And it was very much mission accomplished for them, I suppose. And that's how it actually turned out for us yesterday, wasn't it? It was kind of, I've got here, it was probably, I don't know if everyone else in the comments things, but it felt like it was one game too many, contractually obliged to complete the 46th game, wasn't it? After mission accomplished. Is that kind of the vibe you got as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said on my hurried video from the station on my way home.
I know you said it was at the station, yeah.
It just didn't. I don't know. It just wasn't the kind of clinical sort of. It didn't look like they had the energy or the whatever it was. And I'm not casting any aspersions on any stretch of the imagination. It just didn't quite look like they were at it as much. And as lots of people have said, who can blame them? They've had a good week. They've enjoyed themselves, and rightly so. And they don't get anything else for getting 100 points. And we could have won the title, but does it really matter that much? Yeah. And I'm not saying they weren't putting the effort in, but it just didn't quite look like it wasn't like that Exeter. And probably it doesn't help that we saw the Exeter display the week before, where we just humiliated them in 32 minutes. And
absolutely. That was the peak of the season, wasn't it? Basically, that was the bit that mattered most, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was where they needed to put that energy in. You didn't want them to have to do that in the last game of the season. So, it was.
Someone said to me yesterday, imagine if that game yesterday we'd been riding on, you had to win that game in order to get automatic.
Yeah,
I would have been in bits, I think.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of that in the championship this afternoon with all the all the different permutations that they could have had to get into the playoffs. It was fascinating to watch as a neutral, but Christ, you wouldn't have wanted to be a Millwall fan today. No.
Guess what, George? We could be discussing this in 12 months. We could be in that mix.
Yeah, and look at Sunderland, another team that you've got to say fair play to, like absolutely phenomenal season, and found themselves in the playoffs today. Which
they found themselves in the playoffs on 69 points.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable to me that. But I mean, look, it was quite close, wasn't it, between that and down to Norwich in 13th. Unlucky.
Yeah,
unlucky for some, hilarity for others. So we drew 2-2 yesterday, and like you say, I felt it was kind of flat. It felt a little bit sluggish. There was no Moores. He was there, so Dominic Ball came in. Donatian came in for Harry Clark. Do you feel like maybe look? You think back to the Cheltenham game when we missed Broadhead, and that felt kind of like a bit of a flat performance, didn't it? one of those pivotal players had been taken out of the jigsaw, piece was gone. And it felt a little bit like that to me. Nothing against Ball or Luongo particularly. I think they're good players. But do you feel maybe that leadership was lost? It was interesting. Walton was made captain, a goalkeeper captain. I don't know how much influence you can have on the game from when you're in the final third, right?
Yeah, not the first time. And I'm not sure about the Walton captain thing, whether that would be a long running thing or whether that's just because, he was, I don't know what that was about, but because I would have thought there was potential for Ball to come in and be captain, to be honest with you, from
or Luongo.
Even Luongo. But I thought we did miss Morsey. Don't get me wrong. I thought Ball had a good game. I thought Donacien had a good game as well, to be honest. And I didn't think he was. I felt a little bit like Clark has been off the pace a bit over the last.
Well, we'll come to it in a minute. He's an erratic character, as we found out in the 90th minute.
Yeah, and so I don't know. Obviously, I don't know why Clark didn't start, but I didn't think Donacien did too badly. I did wonder whether it might be the sort of swan song for him. But
I feel like would you keep Donacien for next season then? What's everyone saying in the comments? What do you think, George? Would you keep him for next season, or do you think we're looking at another backup there?
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know whether it was something to do with that. I noticed he had a bit of a funny air about him after the Exeter game. He wasn't really getting involved in that, and maybe it's just because he didn't want to sort of like be involved, and he's just not into it. And there was a bit where he went and jumped around and did some dancing with all the players, but he spent a lot of the time away from the rest of the squad, and you can read into that all day long, obviously.
Yeah, I did notice that actually. He missed out on some pivotal photos. Ditto Caden Jackson as well, interestingly.
Yeah, and maybe there's nothing to it, and maybe it's complete nonsense. But would I take him? Yes, as things stand, of course. Would I look for a second? I don't know. I think if Harry Clark could play consistently well in terms of like at his best, like consistently, like Leif Davis tends to play consistently. I think we've got a real player there, and then Donacien as backup right back is absolutely fine. Like more than fine. And then I'd keep hold of him, but it's tricky. Really tricky, but as things stand, yes, I would. I'd be more than happy to have.
Okay, interesting take. Tell us what you think in the comments about that. George would keep JD. Let's have a look here. Some comments. Phil Blundell says Town fell flat after Hurst went off injured. Again, another one of these anomalies you get, George, in these last games of the season where Hurst
there was a few, weren't there?
Full of fitness. Suddenly he goes down with injury 18 and gone. He's out.
Yeah.
Rob Holmes says a number of fringe players will leave. It will allow us to strengthen the depth of the quality in our squad. Yeah, I do agree with that. Roy Clark says crap decision, the Wednesday penalty and the sending off for yesterday. So Derby finished outside the playoffs. George, we'll come to that in a little bit. Mike the Fishman says no link tonight, chat. I don't think so, Mike. We've got no cruncher. Martin is operating behind the scenes, so you may just have us two this evening. Yeah, I mean, it was a funny one, wasn't it? I mean, like you say, no energy, bit flat. Then Hurst pulls up, down. I think he had like a weird, me and Crunch were chatting on the phone when he was driving back. He had like some kind of weird, big white sock thing over his calf, which presumably was some kind of muscle strain. And, Freddie came on. But you see these in these last games of the season. He's not looked like at all like getting injured. And then suddenly, last game of the season, perhaps it was all the drinking during the week, all the celebrations.
Yeah, it's one of the things when the pressure's off and you relax a little bit.
Yeah, the adrenaline.
It's like when you have a week off work and suddenly you get the worst cold you've ever had in your life and spend the whole time. It's good. As you sort of relax and your body just lets it sort of breathe.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of that going on.
You let your guard down, but
they got to remain match fit for their Vegas trip, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Anyone know when that is? Are they flying out? Presumably that's got to be this week, is it? They fly out this week?
Yeah. Crunch, all I've heard is Crunch mention it. I have no idea.
You would have thought they'd want a podcast to go along with them, wouldn't you? Capture some of that footage. For me, I mean, I was interested yesterday. I mean, I've got a few comments here from McKenna, and he said on Clark, 2 poor tackles. It was a poor red card. If you saw his face at the end of the game yesterday, McKenna, he looked really pissed because I feel like he's now those challenges from Clark have given him a bit of a headache because we are now as we look ahead to August and the planning starts now. Ashton said today at Christchurch, the planning's already underway.
Yeah.
It's probably cost us a few million, that, because they'll be looking at someone who can come in and fill that position opening day, don't you think? Or you putting JD in now? You still think he's all right to play there?
I mean, of course I'd put him there for one game. I don't think we're going to be looking to buy a multi-million pound right back just to cover for one game. Callie's point is interesting there about the jury still being out of luck. I disagree slightly that I'm not sure it's the ITFC link. I like the look of him. He looks a real like thoroughbred right back to me. But I agree, as I say, that I just think he's been slightly inconsistent. It's the wayward passes that I'm not so concerned about his defensive skills from what I've seen, but some of his passing has been a bit loose.
He had a bit of a funny back pass to Walton yesterday, didn't he? Which was a little bit under here. Look, we're being harsh here. These are minor quibbles, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. All of this is going to be like, how do you criticise the team that's on the run?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, absolutely ridiculous.
You know, I feel like when I look back on that League One campaign, George, and you think like Donasson come in as a Hurst signing out into the Championship, and then he went on loan, didn't he, to back to Accrington, didn't he? And he went to Fleetwood, who obviously played yesterday, so he's a familiar face there. The renaissance of JD is just unbelievable, man. I thought and Lambert didn't fancy him at all, did he? From when he was at Aston Villa as a youngster, it was almost like he didn't want to give him an opportunity, particularly. So his renaissance has been really good. Of course, he was runner-up to Burns, really, wasn't he, as Player of the Year last season?
Yeah. Their partnership last season was phenomenal, and not really duplicated this year down the right side in terms of Burns and having that kind of like consistent. Just the way they kind of like played off of each other was lovely to watch sometimes last season. Yeah. We've lost that fluidity a little bit. It's felt like. Yeah. But, not that that's gone for good, but that's definitely been a loss down that right hand side for me this year.
Well, as Phil Blundell says there, it's why JD was given another year. Now the governor thinks that's to sell him on to a League One side. I mean, that remains to be seen. Because we did pay like 750 grand for him, I seem to recall, George. He come around about the same time as Ellis Harrison, didn't he, in that summer?
But he's probably paid us back for that. No,
absolutely.
I don't think it's not one that you'd say, oh well, paid $750,000 for him and we didn't get anything back from him. He's played plenty over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, agree with that. And I think it was his throw-in yesterday that went to Ladapo for the opening goal. I thought that was a great hit from Ladapo. I didn't realise it had gone in to begin with. I mean, Donation's thrown it there. He's got his back to Sarpong Wiradu, I think his name was, that big number 4 in the defence for Fleetwood, and he's turned him with his strength, and he's hit a great shot into the angle of the bar and in. I thought we were on there.
As soon as he touched, and he's done it a lot recently. And he did it again in the second half. But that first touch, as soon as he made that first touch, I said to my dad, I was stood with my dad in the fans, and I said, "Hang on," because I had a feeling that he was just going to nail it. Like something about it had Ladapo written all over it. That throw and touch. Yeah, it was great. It was a great finish, and I think it was a shame that Hurst went off, but Ladapo showed.
He had a really good opportunity.
Quality player, absolutely quality player.
As soon as he came on, he had that chance, didn't he? There was a ball into him. I can't remember who played it into him, maybe Burns or somebody, and he controlled it and then tried to do that volley and chip the keeper. Remember that? It just went over into the Percy Ronson stand. I'm always intrigued by some of the names that you get at some of these grounds. I wonder who Percy Ronson was. I mean, shout out Percy. He was obviously a Fleetwood legend, right? At Highbury Stadium. But he kind of brings that, doesn't he? I think Ladapo. When we signed him in the summer, and the New York City podcast said to us, he's a bit of an enigma. You don't really see those efforts from Hurst, do you? Like the control, the volley, try and chip the keeper from 25, 30 yards. I think Hurst is a bit more steady, but it was a great finish from Ladapo. And what was the reaction like in the fan zone then, George? Was everyone going crazy? The 100 points, 100 goals? It is on.
Yeah, we were sort of halfway back, and I'd already warned my dad that we were probably far enough back to not get covered in beer every time we scored a goal, and it did all sort of eject into the air as both times that we scored. But it was like I say, it was a great atmosphere. It was really nice because it was a bit noisier at the front and a bit more sort of packed at the front, and then there was just loads of kids at the back running around and not kicking balls around because they're not allowed anymore, are they? But
no, health and safety dictates in 2023. Andy Barrell says, I trust McKenna and Mark Ashton to do the best for the club. Absolutely. I question them. And I had to eat humble pie the other week, George. You probably watched
I
it.
saw.
And who knows what the recruitment team have got lined up this year? I think 2 or 3 loans wouldn't have got us as a League One club may come in. Absolutely. Being Frank Weston, the legend, says Genoa Donatian has been good for town. He's one of the best Paul Hurst signings. Paul P says McKenna will improve Clark. Look what he's done with Burgess, for example. That's a good point, actually, because when I think back to Wickham and Oxford games, which were about a month apart from each other, maybe 3 weeks across December and January, George, I was like, I've had enough of this guy. He's cost us the points there. And I feel like with Fridge getting injured and being in the boot and not being able to be a play, and Burgess, who came in from the cold, really, didn't he? He hadn't had many games. I think he's done really well. Now, there's an argument there whether or not he can go to the Championship. I don't know. But what do you think? Do you think he's been solid enough in that?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's only letting 4 goals over 15 games, right?
Yeah, I think he's been great. And he's even started to look more like a ball-playing centre-half as well over the last sort of 6 weeks or so. There's been a couple of times where he's not just looked to kind of play to his natural strength, which is a little bit more sort of classic centre-half, get it away type. But
get it going. I'm sad.
But no, he's been great. Like all of them, you couldn't really fault him. He's not.
You can't really fault him, even though
I can't think of a mistake he's made really.
No, recently. in that last third of the season, absolutely. Like I say, Wickham, Oxford, I do feel like he cost us points, and I was like, gave me the ump a little bit. But you can't falter his attitude, can you? Somebody who's had to have an operation on their face, because their whole
back as quick as yours,
their skull's being smashed in smithereens. I can. That'd be me finished for life, I think. I mean, I can only give credit to someone to come back from that and play with the mask and all that. So, I mean, that shows you the kind of warrior spirit he's got, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a testament to McKenna and the coaching staff that they see the strengths of the players that we have and mould them into the way of playing that they want. And I'm sure that it's adapted to Burgess when Burgess is playing, just like it would be adapted to Fridge if Fridge was playing, or whoever might be playing. And
yeah, absolutely.
And it's not about any shape of holes and pegs. It's about making the best of the players on the pitch, which they've done excellently with Burgess.
Certainly, I think probably from the McCarthy era through to like Paul Cook, really, we saw a lot of square pegs in round holes, didn't we? Chambers at right back, for example. The signing of Scott Fraser, who was supposed to be like one of the best, what we thought was number 10s in the division, played out on the left. It's good to see that McKenna has kept that settled side, certainly from that Forest Green game onwards.
Yeah.
If you think back to the game before that, but I think Bristol Rovers, where Broadhead's on the bench, Chaplin's on the bench. I mean, they're the first 2 names they've been the first 2 names on the team sheet, haven't they? That last third of the season.
Yep. And I think that made a big difference, being able to have that settled side.
Yeah.
And it's probably why we didn't look so settled yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like someone said to McKenna, higher up, just as a thing?
Martin's got his theories about him talking to Mourinho or
keep a settled team.
You do, don't you? You talk to your mentors and obviously, and I'm sure he does. But I'm not sure it's doing him a slight disservice to suggest that he can't figure these things out on his own or tinker with these things enough until they work. And I think, until he comes out and says that that's what he did, I think I'm happy to give him all of the credit.
The journalist in me would love to know, George. I'd love to know.
Oh,
I love the fact that McKenna might have just been talking to Mourinho about Ipswich Town and League One football. And what do we need to do against Forest Green Rovers, Jose? Who? Yeah. Robert Wilson says, I think 5 or 6 are coming in. Love that. 5 or 6 going out. McKenna and Ashton will be ruthless. No time for such sentiment in the Championship. Of course, I was being ruthless with McKenna in League One, George, but look how that ended up. But absolutely, I mean, look, as I said last week, we've now got the ticket to the lottery. We've now got a ticket to get to the Premier League, haven't we? We were down amongst, as my dad used to say, we were down amongst the dead men in League One. We got a ticket for nothing.
Yeah, and interesting that the man with the money was over 5 days after. 5 days after.
Yeah. Mark Steve.
That
is a mightily impressive bid. Have you never been tempted, Jules, to grow a beard at that level?
Oh, it's too patchy, Matt. It's too patchy. It doesn't grow. doesn't grow thick enough.
No, you've got to have the skin. You've got.
I'll leave that on to Mr. Steed.
Yeah. It's even the waxing just here, isn't it, on the moustache?
You've got to and also I don't have the natural swagger about me. I don't think to get away with the
Absolutely. I'd imagine that's probably quite a high maintenance beard to look after. I don't think you can get up half hour before work and get that look going.
No, you've probably got people that do it for him.
Oh, well, most likely. That's the dream, isn't it? Mike Fishman says 4 to 5 players in should be enough. Phil Blundell says he thinks 10 could go this summer. The recruitment began last summer. Interestingly,
depends how far down you're going, probably in terms of
age
absolutely and stuff. Yeah, sorry, Matt. Go on.
That's all right. It was interesting that Ashton said at the Christchurch Park thing today. There's some quotes on those with today's news site that said that the recruitment for Broadhead, Luongo, Clark began in August when they was all with had all just signed with other clubs because Clark had gone to Stoke, I do believe. Luongo had just gone to Middlesbrough on a free, and Broadhead had started his loan at Wigan. So it's interesting they looked at those as maybe potential January signings. I mean, that's how far in advance. It makes you wonder what's on the dashboard for the championship.
Oh, yeah. They'll have all of everybody every position and everybody that they're interested in out. I'm sure already in terms of top targets. Who knows who else will come up in terms of whether they're looking abroad or already looked abroad or wherever it might be. But yeah, I'm sure that they're not short of names on the list and phones to.
It'd be nice to get some. It'd be nice to get some European or South American talent in. Do you remember Luciano Ciavelli? Magilton brought in from Argentina, and then he got that terrible injury against Burnley, didn't he? And never played again. Went out like that, didn't he, on the old stretcher of his thumbs up? What a boy!
Yeah, of course, and Peralta was one of my favourites back in the day. Great player.
Snow Peralta, on loan from Inter. Played in the San Siro for us, didn't he? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It would be great to sort of see some of these kind of faces come through. So we're 1 up, George, and everything's looking good in the fan zone. 100 points, 100 goals. I'm dancing on the beer again. I spent the second half drinking Prosecco to say goodbye to League One. I thought we'd go out with a bang. We're going to get these 100 points, 100 goals. And then lo and behold, bloody hell, we go 2-1 down. And it only happened to be Jack Marriott, former academy prospect, that I think McCarthy got rid of. Am I right in thinking that? I think he gave it the old elbow, didn't he?
That time,
yeah. What a funny career he's had. He's left us. He's had a good time at Peterborough, Derby, back to Peterborough. Now he's at Fleetwood. And, the equaliser. Go for it. Say it again.
He's always scored plenty of goals.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's a good player at this level, I think. Mm-hmm. It felt like to me that when they went on that break, that kind of counter-attack, and we were really stretched and the ball went into the middle, it felt like it was going to go in. And Danassian tried that blind clearance, didn't he? Which just actually hit Marriott. And I don't blame Danassian for that. I probably would have done exactly the same, but it was just annoying.
Yeah, it was a bit scrappy. I think stretched is probably the right way to describe it. They just, it felt like they were going to score. I'm not sure that there was a huge amount of surprise or I mean, obviously disappointment, but I don't think anyone was kind of, this is totally against the run of play. What's going on? What's going on here? It kind of felt like it wasn't over. It wasn't going to be a walk in the park like Exeter, for example. Yeah,
exactly. And then, of course, they score from a corner. Oh, big shout out David Bergen, €5. Good old David. I've been chatting to David. I don't know if you noticed, George, when him and Adam, his son, flew back last week from the Exeter game, they were going from Stansted. They had their town tops on, and they were getting congratulations from airport staff. Love that. It's fantastic to me. Thanks, David, for your support this year. It's been great meeting you and your son at the statue when you've been over, and we look forward to seeing you back over for the championship. But yeah, suddenly, what was it like in the fan zone when Marriott made it 2-1 then, George? You could hear a pin drop, presumably.
Yeah, the atmosphere deadened slightly. I think it's fair to say, but there was enough kind of people who sort of were immediately on it in terms of clapping and giving it the old "come on town." I don't think anyone necessarily thought we were going to lose at that point, but I think the 100 points was maybe slipping away. Although I think after we equalised, and I'm sure we'll get to this, it was still disappointing that we didn't quite, and that because that's when it kind of felt like there was a little bit more urgency, particularly Chaplin suddenly started terriering around again like he was trying to get his hat trick against Exeter, and it all just came a little bit too late, which was probably why McKenna was so pissed off looking at it.
Yeah, I think he would have liked I think he would. I mean, professional to the end, isn't he? He's that kind of Man United mindset. You know, he did look like he's a bit pissed. I don't think the red card helped. I think he would like. Look, I would have loved to have had that record. We was at a coronation party the day before, and I was saying, fair play to Plymouth if they go up. I said, but I'd love to get that. I'd love to get 100 goals, 100 points. And they said that'd be a really good quiz question, wouldn't it? Which team has scored 100 points, 100 goals in 22-23, but didn't win the title?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'd said to you, George, at the start of the season, we'd score 101 goals, we'd lose 4 games, we'll get 98 points, you would have thought our hands were on the trophy, right?
100%. Yeah, I'd have thought we'd have walked the league. Absolutely. Yeah. That's how crazy this league is in terms of quality and results that can go anywhere. And
yeah, look, I know Sheffield Wednesday shot themselves in the foot, and we're not responsible for anyone else's results, right? You can only do what you can do on the pitch. But how gutted must they be knowing that at their end of season tally, so 46 games, 96 points, would have won them the title by 4 points last season? Mm-hmm. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's just, you can't odds it, can you? It's one of those. It's been, it's. You just have words for it. It's because it's crazy. It's unprecedented in terms of, and when you look, like you were saying before, you look at the top of the championship and how few points, relatively speaking, you needed to get into.
Let's hope it's the same next season. League One was a bit mental last season, wasn't it? In terms of, I think you had to have 83 points just to finish 6th.
Yeah, I think the playoffs was the tricky one last season in terms of the top 6 all had. And
just to illustrate, George, just how football can change in just less than a year. MK Dons miss out on promotion by I think 1-2 points, relegated to League 2 yesterday. Mad, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy. Or Leicester in the Premiership like this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see some more comments here. Mike the Fishman says, David Bergen and Adam are lovely lads. Enjoyed chatting to both of them in the pub. They all had breakfast together before the Exeter game. AD says it would have been the icing on the cake to get the 100 points. It absolutely would be. I think when you break it down, George, I was a bit annoyed really, but then the only stat we really want is promotion. That P next to our name on the league. Lee Brown, hi Lee. It's felt flat yesterday, but we got the job done. I think that probably sums it up. I think we've got a Sheffield Wednesday fan potentially. Yes, we have. Nat, good evening, lads. And the chat, Nat, are you feeling confident? Peterborough sneaked in, George, on the last day there to play them in the playoffs. They didn't look like, and let's not forget, Sheffield Wednesday have now put 4-game run ahead. We keep talking about this bit of a shit run they had, but they never put 4 games on the trot. So they're actually going in with some good momentum. But
I think they've got over that. They've got over their little blip. They came at the absolute worst time that they could have possibly come. And based on what I've seen of Sheffield Wednesday, they should be absolutely fine over the next 3 games.
So Sheffield Wednesday have got Peterborough and it's Barnsley Bolton. I mean, it's interesting that Peterborough obviously won at Barnsley yesterday. And I think Barnsley actually had a pretty strong team out. The enigma that is Barry Cotter was out on right midfield. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
How's he managed to get back in the mix?
For a minute, didn't he? Yeah.
That's interesting to me. When I saw that result that Peterborough had done it, I thought maybe, the fact that Barnsley was already cemented in the playoffs, I thought maybe they'd put out a weaker team, but they still had Devontae Cole out there. I think they still had Norwood up front. So, and that's interesting. I don't think Bolton's going to be is going to be an easy couple of legs for Barnsley.
No, I don't think so either. I think Barnsley will probably my if I had to put money on it right now, it would be Barnsley Wednesday in the final, and then I think Wednesday should be strong enough to get.
I hope so. We're quite friendly with James from the Sheffield Wednesday. He's a good lad. I've been on there, and his banter isn't there that everyone was saying you can't see the top 2 because of the fog at Oxford. I feel sorry for Sheffield Wednesday fans. Arguably, you can only support the club, can't you? And they were, for matters off the field, they were punished, and that's how they got relegated in the first place. I think they had, was it minus 12 points or something, similar to Derby, really. So I feel sorry for that fan base.
Reading have just been relegated based on their 6.6 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you like Reading, George? Reading's one of them clubs I just think are a bit. If you just had like a magic wand and could get rid of a club and you got rid of Reading, I don't think anyone would notice.
I got a tiny soft spot for Reading because I went to uni down in Surrey, and the closest club to me for 11 years was Reading, so I went to the Medeski quite a bit to watch rugby and football, and that was when Reading every season was struggling to get out of League One.
Yeah.
Remember
that?
Yeah. So it's I had no kind of.
You got a little soft spot for them. I'm talking to
but I know there's not a lot of love lost on Reading around generally.
they're just like a funny club. They just exist, don't they? But be interested. The rumor is my boys, the Cowleys, might go in there as manager. We'll have to wait and see. In which case, they'll be under the good hands. What is Reading like as a town, George? I've never been there.
It's got a half decent shopping centre in the Oracle.
Is it a good night out? You have a few drinks there?
Yeah. There's a. It's pretty nice for a night out, but it can be a bit rough in places. But
yeah. Well, let's talk. We've eventually got parity. We got that 2-2. It was Harness. I was pleased Marcus Harness scored because he got pelters after that Cheltenham game, didn't he? Where he just did 45 minutes. And I feel as fickle as anybody. Fickle Phillips. Maybe that's what should be my name. With McKenna and everybody else, right? Up and down. It's the roller coaster of the season. Lee Anderson said, I'm the only person who's been celebrating promotion whilst wanting the manager's act. That's kind of how I roll. That's why you tune into Talking Town. But I mean, look, Harness was like one of the first players I used to have on the team sheet. If he wasn't playing when we had McKenna's bingo balls, as Crunch called it, I'd be like fuming. But now if he was in the team, I'm going, what's he doing? But I mean, look, he come on as a sub. Chaplin has the shot. It's blocked by the Fleetwood defence. He's there, Johnny on the spot around the penalty mark. Yeah, hits our man Sarpong Marudu, and Wrongfoot's the keeper, and we've got it back to 2-2, haven't we? And scenes in the fan zone, no doubt.
Yeah, the beer flies again, and suddenly there's a little bit more energy, and probably like Town, there was probably more energy at that point in the fan zone for a little while, while we suddenly started kind of like, actually, hang on, we're back on here for the points, but it was relatively short lived. I didn't see too many leave. I think I saw a handful of people wandering out when it was still 2-1. Who'd obviously given up on the prospect, but it was just as it would be a game. I guess it was suddenly there was a little bit of belief, and
at this point, Plymouth were like still they're 2-1 up on there. I think they probably made it 3-1 a little bit later just to cement it.
I think they said it was 3-2 on.
Yes, they did.
They said it was 3-2, so there was even a little bit more excitement, and then
that's Danny Haynes' fault. I don't know who he's getting his intel from. Get him sacked. Yeah. Mike Baker says, I hope Wednesday do win the playoffs. I rate Darren Moore for me. He's been in a no-win situation. I really like Darren Moore, actually. He's actually a kind of character I think would be a good Ipswich Town manager. He's just got that vibe. He's just got a bit of that vibe about him. Phil Blundell says, if Wednesday losing, I think it's curtains for Darren Moore. I think that's probably right. I wouldn't disagree with that. Who would come in, of course, I don't know.
That would be harsh, wouldn't it?
It would be when you consider the 96 points. But I suppose when you think about, the drop off they had and the strong position they had at the top, it would be hard to argue against that. But again, you go back through all the seasons in League One, and 96 points is normally okay for you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That would be like that. Feels like it would be hugely harsh. I mean, interesting to hear Nat's opinion on that as a Wednesday fan. But
Nat, tell us.
That feels like it would be a bit rough for me.
Lee Brown says the best thing about Reading is the road out. Sorry about that, George. No, I'm saying. Craig at Portsmouth. Craig's been great chatting to Craig and his missus this season at the statue. Absolutely brilliant. I'm always amazed by people that, it's easy for me to get to Pullman Road, George, and fairly easy for you. You just come down on the train and ditto me in the other direction, Chelmsford to Ipswich. I'm there in 40 minutes. Craig and his wife come up from Portsmouth for every single game and stay over.
Gives me no excuse not to go, to be honest.
Yeah. I love that. That shows you just how much the club means to people, and that's. I'm so delighted that we've been promoted for people like that who put the hard yards in, the hard miles. And
put their money always amazing how far Ipswich fans reach. And I'm sure all fans of all clubs would say it, but wherever I go, I find Ipswich fans, whether it's here and living in other parts of the country or wherever. I ended up playing when I was at uni, five-a-side football with a bunch of Ipswich fans, just completely randomly, just people. One was a boyfriend of someone that I worked with, and then it just turned out that he played five-a-side football with just Ipswich fans. It was in the middle of Surrey, and I've been in Florida and seen Ipswich fans, and it's crazy, really crazy.
Arizona.
Yeah.
I've sat in a bar, the Courtyard Bar in Tenerife, Los Agantes, next to a Norwegian Ipswich Town fan. when we beat Barnsley 5-3 and we were 2-0 down at half time. Do you remember that? It was like December. It was just me and him. Everyone, the whole bar was packed. On one side of the bar, everyone was watching Strictly Come Dancing because it was a Sunday night. And there was me and this Norwegian fella cheering the town on, 2-0 down. The bloke goes, the bloke behind the bar goes, do you want us to turn it off? I said, no, we'll give it 10 minutes. I'm glad we did. The 5-3 win. Craig from Portsmouth says, I know it was early season, but I thought Bolton were one of the best sides we faced at Bournemouth. Now, I wasn't actually at that game because I think I was at my cousin's wedding, but I watched that 90 minutes back. And the fact that they drew 1-1 with us, I know they scored a penalty, but I think they made life difficult for us. Moolsey could have scored right at the death, couldn't he? He had that chance on the edge of the 6-yard box, but I think Bolton, George, probably put their stall out early to say that they would be in the running for playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. And the it's a shame Morsey missed a few. And again, this is one of those hypercritical things, and I'm only saying it because I think I had a slight bet with Gov at the beginning of the season about how many goals Morsey was going to get.
What was you thinking?
I think I was a bit more confident than he was. I think I said he'd get 10.
You thought double figures? That's up there with my Kane Vincent Young double.
Yeah,
figures.
I think that was when he was playing in a slightly more advanced role alongside.
Yes,
when they were playing with his position slightly, and I think he sort of reverted a little bit once he got on this run with Luongo. But
the roles reversed a little bit.
I feel like he could have got a few more. Though. I feel like he missed a few that I think he would have backed himself to score on a different day.
Yeah, we scored that worldie, didn't he? Forest Green. That was a great goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's definitely got in his locker.
Let's see what else we've got here in the old comments from everybody. I'm going to miss all these comments over the summer, George. B and Frank says we are both on the red. I see, Matt. I haven't got the Romanian wine on tonight, George. I've gone French. Bordeaux. Max Pitchford says loads of Ipswich fans at the Yorkshire universities too. People forget we've got a big fan base, George, because if you think back to the Robson years, and we were well known for travelling around Europe. I feel like probably there's a generation there that's kept of Ipswich, where you might be in Europe or whatever. I think they've always kept that interest. You see it, don't you, with like Scandinavian fans coming over. We had the Norwegian fan group next to me after the Exeter game. Yeah. We had the Germans came over, Fortuna Düsseldorf. I mean, how many clubs have actually... Fortuna Düsseldorf actually have an official Ipswich Town Supporters Club within their membership. I mean, that's unbelievable. Crazy. The Fortuna Blues. I mean, it's fantastic to see, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. It's never ceases to amaze me the reach that we seem to have, and as you say, it is all from previous success. Absolutely. But I dare say we're going to get, we'll be picking up fans now from the Ed Sheeran factor, and all the kids in America or wherever they are that have bought Ipswich shirts just because they've got the tour on the front. And now have a sort of like morbid curiosity about what it actually means.
What's going on? Who are they? Who is this team? I'm sure Wrexham are probably picking up supporters in that fashion.
Undoubtedly, absolutely.
Ryan Reynolds. But you need that kickstart moment, don't you? We said in like Colin's forward of his book, still available on Amazon, everybody, Die of an Obsession. We said you have to have the success to generate the interest in order for someone to write the follow-up to Colin's book in 50 years' time. The Premier League is, the Champions League is, wherever it might be. You're not going to be writing a book on the back of that with McCarthy or Paul Jewell or a Paul Hurst. You have to have the success, and thank God the Arizona lads have come in and we've got it.
Yeah,
we've got it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who knows what's to come now? But aren't we lucky? And isn't it going to be an exciting summer?
That's the big thing, isn't it? Who knows? You hit the nail on the head there. Who knows what is to come now? We've now entered a very exciting realm of the unknown. Who might sign? Who would have thought we'd have had Luongo or Harry Clark or a Nathan Broadhead at the club? I mean, you go back, no one really knew who Kieran McKenna was, other than he was next to Solskjaer and Michael Carrick in the dugout. So we've got this kind of unpredictable, exciting summer ahead of us to see who will be the first signing. Will be very interesting, won't it?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating and super exciting. And I think, well, it will be that first signing or one of the first couple of signings that sets the stall out in terms of what we can expect for the rest of the time.
Just for a bit of fun, George, which position do you think he might be? Who are you thinking? Could it be George? Could it be George Hurst? He actually signs full time.
It'd be my first phone call.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Once their position is sorted, that'll be because I'm sure they probably won't want to be thinking too much about it until they know which league they're going to be in. But I mean, I think we'd be remiss not to chase after Hurst after the half season he's had.
He's been in the building.
And it's definitely a position that we need to fill, right? So
yeah. Lee Anderson agrees with you. He says Hurst will be the first signing. I hope so. I hope that's correct. Lee Bayliss also says we are a big club worldwide. Frank Weston says score flash. Nottingham Forest 3, Southampton 2. That's pretty much going to relegate Southampton, I think, and gives Nottingham Forest a bit of a survival. Curtis says, looking forward to next season. I really don't want Coventry to win the playoffs as I'm only 20 minutes from their ground. Did you ever go to Highfield Road, George? No. I went there when we were 2 down at half time and beat them 4-2. I always remember Joe Rodman stuck like a rocket up their arse. He sat on the net board for the whole second half next to the dugout. It was a great little stadium now. I really enjoyed that. Zorak says, speaking of good old Mick, at the Christchurch Park event, they invited Glenn and Ian on, and Glenn called out Mick, basically saying his football is shit. Poor old Mick. Rob Holmes says, sat in a bar in Sydney and a couple of guys asked if they could get the Ipswich game. Couldn't believe it. We get everywhere. I love that. Let's see what McKenna said about yesterday. So he was disappointed. I think he was pissed about the red card. I think he was annoyed that we didn't get the stat that we all wanted. And he said, for me, it's not about budgets or talents. It's about how hard we've worked every day to get the edge and intensity. We haven't had that so much this week for obvious reasons. Everyone's been on the drink. And we weren't able to find that edge today. When we don't, then we're not such a good team, which was quite an interesting thing.
Well, I think that's the exactly the right thing, isn't it? We're here because of our intensity and our hard work. We didn't do it this week. This is what happens. And that's exactly. Like so now he's got it. Now he's got it all season, next season, and forevermore. Which is, you know what happens when you don't put in the work and you don't stick to that intensity. This happens. You put in a sort of mediocre display on the last day of the season, and you miss out on being the only team in EFL history to have 100 points. I love that. Like you could have gone down in history. Yeah, maybe not, massive amounts of history, but certainly within Ipswich terms, you'd have gone down in a piece of history, and you missed out. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that you got promoted, but it would have been nice.
Yeah. Starting to rankle me a bit now. I mean, look, we are in history, aren't we? We are in the football history books for the 9-0. It would have been nice to have been in there for something that's like a little different. It's interesting today that Ashton said on stage at Christchurch that the season couldn't have got much better. Now I'm going to fight this out there. I think you can divide our season into thirds. The first third of the season, so that takes us from Bolton at home to Charlton away. I think was maybe just before Charlton away. So Paul Vale away when we won 3-2. We definitely got a brace there. Really good, and we were top of the table. Then Charlton comes along, and we, famously, as Glenn Wheeler said yesterday, we can laugh about it now, but we've blown the 4-2 lead.
I think I said out loud, no, we fucking can't.
Yeah. I do think that middle third of the season, when people say we've had a great season, I think we've had a really good season, but I still can't get over the fact that what might have been if we'd not had that dodgy middle third, where we've won 4 games out of 15. And as we alluded to earlier, the question that still is to be answered, what happened post Bristol Rovers to go on this run that scores nearly 50 goals, nearly 50% of the goals we've scored all season? We concede 4, because it was light and day, wasn't it, from that 15 games to the next 15 games?
Yeah. Who knows what happened? But we'd have walked the league.
We could have got like 110 points, 101 plus goals. You know what I mean? Like these are minor quibbles. But when people
would we have had the same run in if we'd stayed top of the league? Possibly, probably not. But even with what we're calling a blip, but where we just drew a lot of games. It's not like we lost a hatful of games, but we had that sort of draw.
We drew too many and lost games that we at Oxford and Wickham that we probably should have got points from. Really, is the reality.
Absolutely. But we still more or less matched across the season. Still more or less matched the best teams in the league. And if we hadn't had that blip, who knows? Like you say, I think we easily would have been into the hundreds.
Points. I mean, one man's blip is another man's meltdown, and I'm the latter.
But in your defence, Matt, and not at any point did I think McKenna was not the right man for the job. But as Ipswich fans, it's one of those things that we're used to. Like we don't often come back these blips.
No, exactly.
It's not how it's been for the last 20 years. We don't recover from these things. If there is a blip in a manager's performance or a team's performance under that manager, we don't tend to bounce back. We don't have a lot of running towards adversity. We tend to cower in the corner away from it. So as fans, I think that's what we're used to. So I don't necessarily blame you for a slight overreaction.
Yeah, you're being kind. It just seemed to me that after that Bristol Rovers game, that style of tactics to me was just like, he's not. That was my main thing. If you think we're going to get promoted on these tactics, forget it. And of course, we've seen a completely different set of tactics. Thank God, because we've enjoyed it so much. Like I say, we've nearly scored 50% of our goals in this last run of 15 games. You know.
I think it's all just come together, hasn't it? Like the base of it, the playing out. It's just the fluidity and the pace and the intensity has just been
brilliant.
Nothing I've seen. I've never seen a town team, and you don't often see many teams play, particularly at this level, with that kind of level of pace and intensity.
It's been fantastic to watch. Now, whether or not we can take that into the Championship, I don't know. I don't think the Championship is as good as what everybody is saying. Certainly, if you've got a team like Luton, who I've got one of my extended family members is a Luton fan, and he says, they've got the fourth worst budget and they're sitting third in the table, and they're going to be playing Sunderland in the playoffs. He just said they've got the heart and the desire, and we've certainly seen heart and desire from Town over those last 15 games. So, George, at the moment, I think if they were to go down tonight, we'd be playing Leicester, Leeds, and Southampton in the Championship next season. And the teams that are confirmed for the Championship, let's get on. Look, I've got the old bleeding fixture list here. League One, where we've been playing your Forest Greens and your Cheltenhams. That's gone. Right, confirmed for next season, okay, everybody? Blackburn, ex-Premier League winners. Millwall, nice, easy to get down to the den. West Bromwich Albion, so you'll be seeing plenty of Chris Hall on this show next season, I'm sure. Swansea, Watford, Preston, the old yellow and green, Bristol City, Hull City, Stoke City, Birmingham City, nice little run of cities. Huddersfield Town, whether or not Warnock's still there, I don't know. Oh, he was always one of my dream town managers. Rotherham, QPR, hello Andre Dazelle, back in the same division as us. Cardiff City, and then obviously coming up is going to be us and Plymouth and one other. So, George, as we wind down, because we've only got 2 minutes left, you know what the gov's like with these kind of like times?
He's just going to cut us off, I suspect.
Cut us off, wouldn't he? And we want to be professionals as we filled an hour here. So, George, you're thinking Sheffield Wednesday versus Peterborough United. Who goes to Wembley out of those two?
Wednesday.
So Sheffield there, and then you've got Bolton and Barnsley. Who do you think is going to go to Wembley now?
Barnsley.
So Barnsley. So an all Yorkshire occasion at Wembley.
Mm-hmm.
Sheffield Wednesday v Barnsley. If you had to put your money on somebody, who are you thinking?
Wednesday.
Sheffield. I think that would probably be about right, wouldn't it? I think with.
I think they deserve it, and I think
agree.
I think they've got enough to turn Barnsley over based on what we've seen of them.
If they didn't go up, would you try to sign Barry Bennett? No, probably getting on in years.
Let him keep him for next year. Try again.
My old pal Mike Woods. Hello, Mike. I love travelling up to town games with Mike. He's a great lad. Orion fans want to keep Elmirs. Question is, can they afford to buy him if others are chasing? What do you think there? I look, Elmirs is obviously going to come back, George, as we wind down, but he's obviously won a title at Orient. They love him there. I would say let's make a deal and let him go to a club and progress his career where he's obviously having great fortune, right?
There's a thing on TWTV saying that Derby and Watford are after him.
God, I mean, look, fair play.
So, yeah.
I'd stay at Orient if I was him.
Money from him.
I mean, who's going to? At the end of the day, it's a business, isn't it? Ashton ain't just going to let him go for charity, but I feel like he's probably got a bit of a fan base there. He's found probably better at home. He's won a league medal there, but interesting that people are looking at him.
He's another one of these. I think he's a good player. I think there's something in him, but he's just. I think that's the article alludes to. He's just going to be so far down the pecking order.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a move will do him good. I mean, look at Armando Dobra. We thought he was going to be one of the next big things, and he's going to. Big shout out Paul Cook. I was a big Paul Cook fan when he became Ipswich manager. Didn't work out for him, sadly, but he's taken Chesterfield to Wembley in the National League playoff with Dobra with him, and also Bailey Clement, and they're playing Notts County. So I'll feel sorry for Notts County if they don't go up. Would they get 105 points? Be an absolute killer. Listen, everybody. League One is over, as I said. The nightmare is done. any port in a storm. We found the port in stormy waters. George, it's been great chatting to you for the last hour. It always flies past these chats, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
They really do.
All the time.
I'm so, for George, I'm so pleased you've seen Town promoted. I want to end with what Mark Steed said at Christchurch today, because this means a lot to me. My dad wasn't here to see this. He'd love to have been there, but he says, from me to you, Mark Steed, we dedicate this achievement, the trophy, to all of you. This has been a rough couple of years of COVID, and it's been a rough decade or two for Ipswich. So this achievement is dedicated to you, for people that you've lost, that took you to your first match, that made you fans and excellent memories. This is all for you. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're no longer League One. We're heading to the Championship. I'm sure the Gov will be with you again in a few days' time. God bless, and we'll see you soon. All the best.